Fostering connection through vulnerability, the People Pleaser podcast validates struggles, celebrates growth, and inspires positive change. Together, let's embrace authenticity, challenge patterns, and evolve with compassion. Hello. It's Corie, and I am just so happy to be here. Welcome to another episode of the People Pleaser podcast. And how you doing? How are you feeling? How is your energy? How is your people pleasing this week? I gotta say, I am battling some of my own, I don't know if it's necessarily people pleasing, but it is an experience of having a lot of discomfort, feeling that I am disliked. So I would say that's not too far from people pleasing. I'm trying really hard to people please, but maybe I'm just feeling like I'm not successful. And it's still an ongoing saga with my new job. And I feel almost like there's a few layers to what's going on in my mind right now. One is that I don't want to come across as a complainer, and I don't want to give off the impression that I'm just suffering unnecessarily. And I don't want to just complain for the sake of complaining. So I am already like mindful, like, oh, I've already talked about this, and I should have resolved it by now, and people don't care, people don't want to listen. So there's that aspect of my people pleasing at play. And in response to that, I would say that I'm trying to really honor like the process of figuring this experience and this new environment out. And we don't always get it right away. And there isn't always a quick resolution. And I'm not always in a position where I can just like dust off my pants and, keep going. I'm still feeling it. I'm still in it to a certain degree, and I'm not really on the other side. I'm thinking that I've found peace in general. Like, I'm not really looking to intervene with the situation anymore. I'm just looking to let things continue to flow and allow things to just get better with time. And the reason I say that is that I actually yesterday confronted gently, like this was not a confrontation. This was quite the opposite. I had worked with my boss all day, and I was feeling so upset by the end of the day. I felt as though I had been busting my ass all day trying to do a really good job at my job. And I know that I'm doing a really good job at my job. So that's where I'm like, okay, so what is it? Like, because the vibe, the energy that I am receiving from my boss it's so challenging because there is a lot of passive aggressiveness. There's a lot of like dismissiveness. There's serious lack of eye contact, serious lack of like direct communication. And I am unfortunately taking it all personally because I am witnessing that she is not like that with a lot of other people, like all of my coworkers. I'm not seeing that behavior directed at anyone else. So it's not that I am taking it personally, but it feels personal. And so I just left work yesterday feeling pretty defeated, pretty like pissed off, honestly. Like, why am I putting up with this? And so I tried to take the approach of seeking clarity from her. And I knew that I wasn't emotionally prepared to have that conversation face to face because I just wasn't feeling safe. Like, I didn't feel like that was what I really wanted to put myself through at the end of the day. So while I was walking home from work, I gave her a call and I just basically said the energy is off, which I felt so like, oh God, here I go, like talking about the energy, but it really is that. And it's not like there is one instance where I was offended or upset. It's like, it's a culmination of things. And I do have to just move on. Like I have to make that decision, but like either I deal with this type of personality or I don't. And I am choosing to continue to work there. So that means I have to continue to work with this personality. So I tried to confront things to the best of my ability. I was emotional. I did cry, which I was really frustrated with, but that is just me to a T. I'm so conflict averse that tears just start spurting out of my eyes and I'm like, no, I'm mad. And unfortunately, I didn't really feel like my boss fully understood where I was coming from. She couldn't name it or recognize it, but she did apologize and let me know that it wasn't her intention, that she really appreciates having me. She really likes the work I do. She can count on me. So as much as I didn't feel like she fully understood what I was getting at, or she didn't really take any type of accountability for her actions or her energy, I do feel like she heard me, and I do feel like she gave me the feedback that it's not that I'm doing anything wrong. So that did feel good, and I'm glad that I spoke up. She thanked me for speaking up, and I guess I'll just kind of see how that goes. So I hope that I'm not beating a dead horse with this. It is just truly the process I'm going through. And, as a people pleaser, like I do often make mountains out of molehills. And I do kind of dwell on the situations where I'm like, but I'm not getting that perfect resolution. I'm not getting that like fairy tale ending. It still feels like there could be improvement, and finding peace with just like things staying imperfect is still something I struggle with. Today, I want to talk about codependency. And codependency and people pleasing really can rub up against each other. And so when I am talking about codependency today, I'm mostly talking about it in the frame of intimate relationships, because that seems to be where my codependency really can ramp up. And I want to just talk a little bit about my current relationship and the different experiences I've had in relation to codependency. My husband and I, we were in a long distance relationship for 3 years. And I never in a million years thought that I could ever do a long distance relationship. And that is strongly or largely due to being so codependent and feeling as though in order to feel secure in a relationship, or in a relationship, I needed to like be as close as humanly possible. And unfortunately, I have, history of infidelity and, being cheated on and cheating on and, all these things that have led to layers of distrust. But I also just like, I couldn't ever imagine pursuing a long distance relationship before I met Brian. And the reality is that like we had no choice but to be long distance if we really decided to do this thing. And we did decide to do this thing. And so the first 3 years of our relationship, I mean, up until like not even 2 months ago, we were long distance. And the beauty of this day and age is that we have technology like FaceTime, and we can like video chat and see each other, and it doesn't feel like we're all that far away in a lot of cases, like compared to what it would have been even just 20 years ago. But what really surprised me is that I actually really leaned into the experience of being in a long distance relationship, because I realized that I kind of had the best of both worlds. And please stay with me here, but as a codependent, I can so easily lose myself in relationships. And my experience being in this long distance relationship forced me to continue to have a life of my own, to continue taking care of myself, to continue being connected to my life in Victoria, like my life in my job and with my friends. And, like Brian had a huge role, but my day to day didn't really involve him in a physical form. And I think that was so good for me, because it really pushed me to pursue my independence, to stay rooted in like who I am and my needs, and just taking really good care of myself. And because I felt so much stability and safety in our relationship, I felt as though I could and wanted to really take care of myself. And I would say that over the last 3 years, I really dialed into my own needs and how I wanted to live and what I needed to do with my time, or how I wanted to spend my time. I got really healthy. I mean, both mentally and physically and emotionally. Like I was going to the gym, I was running, I was eating well, I was seeking counseling, I had great friends, and this is all still for the most part true, but I was doing it with such an intention behind it. Fast forward to present day, and I have moved in with my husband, and we are no longer long distance. We are right up in each other's business. And I have to admit, there's been a bit of a adjustment period. Obviously, like that's not crazy. That's not a crazy realization. But what I've noticed is that I am really trying to hang on to my independence, like really strongly, because it served me so well. But I've had to reconcile with the fact that I want to have that independence, and I no longer live alone. I'm no longer like the only person I need to consider. Like I have a husband, I have a dog, we have this house together. Like there's a lot of things and people and new factors that require me to loosen my grip on independence. And one thing I kind of noticed, and I don't really know if my husband noticed this in the same way that I did, but when I first moved here, like I was still trying to basically live my life as if I was living on my own, keeping up with my routine. Really wanted like solo time, like just to be by myself. And just was like almost resisting letting that go. And I'm now getting to the place where it's like, okay, I can still have my solo time. I can still go do my own thing. We can even just be in the same house and be doing our own things. But it's not like I don't have to worry that like if I don't do it, I'm going to lose it. And I think that is how I was approaching things initially, was there was this fear like, oh, I've worked so hard to create this independence, and I know the lifestyle I want to live. I know the routine. I know what time I want to go to bed. I know what time I want to get up in the morning. I know how I want to spend my day. And that's all great. But I also want to include my husband in as much of my life as I can. So my day to day, every day looks a little bit different, but I have been able to really maintain a connected schedule, both with myself and with my husband. And I mean, it's as simple as I wake up earlier than him. So I do have that quiet time in the morning before he gets up. And I go to bed earlier. So I am like in bed with my book and he's still like up and doing his own thing. So I think we balance the mornings and the evenings really, really well. And we love like making dinner and eating together and having that connected time. We're still trying to figure out when we can just have a day for like going out and going for a hike or doing something kind of fun. My school schedule is still playing out, so we're not totally consistent with that, but I know it's something that we both want and are working towards. The one area that I'm still figuring out, and I think we're just communicating about it really well, is my husband is a new business owner. He started a pressure washing company back in April or May, something like that. And he has been really transparent with where he needs help and what he hopes that I could help him with in terms of the business side of the business. So more the administrative side of things. And this is something I do really want to help him with, but I found myself really resisting helping. And I was like, basically pushing it off. Like when I have time, like when I'm done doing all my stuff, I will help you. And I didn't feel good doing that or saying that. And I had to just give myself a minute to reflect. And what I realized is that I was so worried that I was going to take it all on. Because I can lean into codependency really easily, it would be really easy for me to just be like, okay, I'll do it all. And it'll be at a sacrifice for my own schoolwork, or it'll be like, I feel like I can't just do a little bit. I have to do it all and I have to do it all perfectly. And if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to spend all this time learning. And I finally had to actually tell him, like, I'm noticing this pushback from myself, and this is why. And it's not that I don't want to help, but I think I'm still developing that sense of trust within myself to know my limits and set boundaries and be able to say, this is how I can help you, or this is how much time I can offer you, and have it be informed by my own needs. And my husband isn't asking me to do everything. There's nothing about his request that is like a tall order, like that he, is unreasonable in his ask. I just have to be reasonable in what I am willing to commit to and what I'm saying yes to. So ultimately, this is me saying that I have these codependent tendencies. They can really, really ramp up with the people I love the most and the people I want to help the most. And my flavor of codependency is to sacrifice my own needs, my own wants at the drop of a hat. Like just boom, like you have a need. Okay, well, I'll just like throw mine out the window and all of a sudden they don't matter. And what that leads to is total resentment, total burnout. And it puts a strain on that relationship because you're doing something you don't want to do and they're trying to figure out like what it is that's going on with you. And it's like, you said you want to help, but now you're mad at me for helping. Like, I don't really get it. I have lived with partners before, and it's always so interesting. Like, you always end up finding your groove. And the one other thing that I'm noticing is that Brian and I are quite different in terms of our like energy output, and Brian can be quite extroverted and quite like high stimulus, high stim type energy. And I mean, he has his moments where he's like quiet, totally in his own world, like tired, all the things. But I find that like in general, I'm a little bit more of a introvert and he is more of an extrovert. And that's been another just balancing act of finding that happy medium of like engaged social time and just quiet solo time or doing your own thing. And I think that's where I noticed when I first moved here, like, oh, I just want to be like in a room, quiet, like reading a book. And then I had to really like shake myself and be like, you didn't move all the way to the United States to be with your husband to lock yourself up in a bedroom and read. Like, what are you doing? And again, there's no judgment here on myself. It's just like finding that rhythm and going basically from one extreme of like living alone, complete independence, to like literally living in and being in the same like room as my husband pretty much all day, every day. So it's great that we have our own jobs. It's great that we have our own hobbies. I am still finding my footing. And I think that's the other thing, is like not wanting my husband to be like my everything, and not wanting him to be like my only emotional support, my only friend, my only social connection, my only person that I go to for advice. And he isn't. I have lots of amazing connections. I'm making friends. I'm building community. But it's just good to keep all these things in mind, especially in a transition, like when you and your relationship are in the midst of a transition. I think that we can lose sight of like the bigger support networks that we might be surrounded by. I used to really judge myself for my codependency, and I'm noticing now that I don't really have any type of judgment on myself. think I'm getting a lot better at noticing it faster and being able to intervene. And the best advice I can give you is to just name it and talk about it. Like, try to breathe some air or some life into these conversations, because I know for me, codependency feels sometimes like I'm doing it all, I'm taking it all on, and I'm doing it resentfully. And no one wants that kind of help. If you are doing something resentfully, no one wants that from you. So that's on you, boo. And it's on you to communicate it. So as always, it comes down to communication, boundaries, and just trying to take care of our basic needs. All right, everybody, that is it for today. I made a little mention on Instagram. I'm not going to make this a big deal, but I'm taking a pause on Instagram, so don't panic if you don't see me. But I will still be putting out episodes every week, so you'll just have to subscribe, because I won't be giving you the reminders. You can find me anywhere. So if you're listening to this, you've probably already found me. Okay, I will talk to you next week. Bye. Once again, this is Corie with the People Pleaser Podcast. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. And if you liked what you heard, please consider leaving a 5-star rating and a review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can find daily content from me on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next episode.